Look at the New York Islanders, who have the next pick overall in the draft. And as mentioned, there is a lot of talk. Jeff Jackson with the Toronto Maple Leafs over in discussions with the New York Islanders. We know that the Toronto Maple Leafs have been trying to get up into that top five and get one of the defensemen, and the only one left right now as far as the big four goes is Luke Schenn. Let's check with Darren Dreger on the floor.
All right, James, I just spoke with Leafs general manager Cliff Fletcher. He confirms that the Toronto Maple Leafs have made a trade with the New York Islanders. He wouldn't get into specifics before pushing me aside, other than to say that they will swap picks 7 and 5. And as we continue to see here, you'll see Jeff Jackson, the assistant general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, just ironing out the final details here with Garth Snow and the New York Islanders. So the basis of the trade, at least at this stage, I'll break away here momentarily, but is 5 for 7, Toronto and the New York Islanders.
All right, and so the speculation would be that the Toronto Maple Leafs would select Luke Schenn, but we'll find out for sure next if indeed that trade goes down.
Sorry for the delay, but we have a trade. Bear with me on this one. The New York Islanders trade pick number 5 in this year's draft to Toronto. There's more. For pick number 7 in this year's draft, and at the New York Islanders' option, either pick number 60 this year and Toronto's 3rd round pick next year, or pick number 68 this year and Toronto's 2nd round pick in 2009. Let me do that again. The Islanders trade number 5 to Toronto for number 7, and at the Islanders' option, pick number 60 in this year's draft and Toronto's 3rd round pick in 2009, or pick number 68 in this year's draft and Toronto's 2nd round pick in 2009.
Old days when things were easy at the NHL draft. We've had a 3-way deal involving 4 first-round picks, and now the Toronto Maple Leafs will pick 5th overall, their highest first-round pick since 1989, when they took Scott Thornton 3rd overall. And here is the pick. Now, it is 2 conditional picks, and the Islanders are going to have to decide pretty quickly tomorrow morning on either that 2nd pick this year, 3rd next year, or 3rd this year, 2nd next year.
I never cheer for anybody. I don't care who wins or loses. Toronto wins big here. This is huge for the Toronto Maple Leafs and their organization going forward. This is the start of their rebuild, and you couldn't build it on better shoulders than Luke Schenn's.
That certainly would seem to be the way the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to go with this pick. I don't think there was any question coming out of the 1st pick overall, Steven Stamkos, that the next 4 best guys available are defensemen. Now, we had Luke Schenn at number 6. We had Filatov at 5. But in terms of the Russian factor potentially being there and pushing him down a little bit.
We should point out that when Luke Schenn was 16 years old, he joined the Kelowna Rockets when his midget season ended, and they went to the Memorial Cup that year, and the Rockets put him as a roommate with Shea Weber, their outstanding young defenseman, who, of course, has gone on a great career with Nashville. He also billets with the same billets Weber had in Kelowna, so a lot of comparisons, obviously, different players. But we saw Luke Schenn at the World Junior, Pierre. He was dynamite. Look at Fletcher back on the phone. Now what's he got going?
Mike Penny leading the charge there. Mike Penny's got to be thrilled. All the scouts that do all that heavy lifting all during the year, when you can get a player like Luke Schenn, you just go crazy as a scout. This is a franchise player. Barring injury, what a career he will have for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Fletcher endured a long day of flight from Toronto to Kelowna to watch Schenn play through snowstorms and delays, and it was worth it. Here's Mike Penny.
Toronto Maple Leafs are proud to select with their 1st pick in this year's draft from the Kelowna Rockets, Luke Schenn.
And you know what?
The rebuild begin,
and you know
now
what?
It's coming in Toronto.
Toronto's hoping that Luke Schenn gets the same reaction in Ottawa for a lot of years to come.
You know what? We traveled all over Russia last summer in the Super Series court. Luke Schenn was just so great around that whole thing. He was so positive with the other young players on that team. That was a tough trip. Then,
by the way, sorry to interrupt, that's Braden Schenn in the background. His younger brother, who is likely to be a top 5 pick next year.
Plays in the Western Hockey League as well for Brandon, but I can't say enough good things about Luke Schenn. Just a physical impact. This is Adam Foote. This is a one-man search and destroy type of a guy, and you build teams around defensemen like this, Bob.
And what the NHL scouts really like about this guy is that he knows that he's not a great offensive defenseman. He knows his limitations. He knows that he's a defense-first guy, and he doesn't try to do too much with the puck. But what he does do with the puck is highly efficient. He makes the first pass. This guy did not have a single point in the World Junior Championship and was arguably one of the very best players on the ice from start to finish in that tournament. He led Canada in plus-minus. He was +5 at the World Junior. This is a guy who knows his job and knows how to do it. And you're right. He's physically punishing, a shutdown defenseman, mean and nasty.
Now, it's interesting. Yesterday, he was going to meet with the Phoenix Coyotes. Tell us about his interview with Wayne Gretzky and company.
Well, first off, Luke Schenn brought a bunch of friends, brought his brother, brought some other players from the Western Hockey League and some pals because they wanted to meet Gretzky. I'm not sure if it was a serious interview or not because they knew the Phoenix Coyotes that Luke Schenn probably wasn't going to be there when they were picking. But Wayne Gretzky said to him, hey, listen, do me one favor, especially if you're drafted in the Western Conference. Take it easy on Kyle Turris and the Phoenix Coyotes next year.
Well, they don't like the blue and white here in Ottawa, but
I don't care.
Luke Schenn could care less.
They would love to have him here in Ottawa. This
Mike
guy's
Palmentier on one side, Dave Morrison on the other side. Dave Morrison, the Chiefs scout, hey, finally gets to pick in the first round, and with a high-end guy like Luke Schenn, and a happy day for the Schenns from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
This is, this is exactly what Leaf fans want. This is a start and a major start of a solid foundation to build around right now.
Now, we should point out, though, that to trade up, Toronto has given up 2 picks, a second and a third. Now, we don't know if they're this year or next year. There's combinations involved, so Toronto has shelled out to get the guy they want. And so once again, the Maple Leafs could be without a pick for quite a while in this draft unless Fletcher trades up again.
I wouldn't worry about it. I think it's fantastic. I am just so thrilled for Toronto and their fans because this is the start of the new beginning.
Here's another trade coming up, and here again is Commissioner Gary Bettman.
The 6th selection in this year's draft belongs to the Columbus Blue Jackets.
We thought that might have been a trade. There's word that Columbus may have acquired R.J. Umberger, was trying to acquire Umberger from the Philadelphia Flyers, but here's James Duffy.
All right, if Gary's ready to go again, or if there is a trade, we'll get right back to it right now with Luke Schenn. And by the way, get used to being booed in Ottawa, Luke. Santa would get booed here if he had a Leafs jersey on, so it's the ultimate compliment. Listen, we had this discussion yesterday about this possible scenario, and you said it would be an absolute dream come true. It's a reality now.
Yeah, I know. It's you always dream of wearing an NHL sweater, and Toronto's pretty much Canada's team, so I'm so excited to be a part of this, and I thank the Leafs organization and thank everyone that's got me here.
It's been 41 years. I'm sure you know the number since the Toronto Maple Leafs have won a Stanley Cup. What can you do to end that?
Well, I'm not going to make any promises right off the start, but I'm just going to go in there and try to compete and earn a spot this year, hopefully, and just work my hardest and hopefully be a part of the puzzle to help things turn things around.
Cliff Fletcher, as we look at Luke Schenn, what was the rationale behind the deal? Was this just a guy that you figured you had to have?
Well, Luke, it's part of what we're trying to do in Toronto now. We're hopefully putting together a good young team for the future and build so that we could climb up the ladder and can compete with the top teams in the NHL. And we're very happy to have this gentleman beside me because I believe he'll be a big part of our future.
Was there any hesitation in giving up those 2 other picks simply because a lot of people believe Toronto needs multiple players to rebuild?
Well, there's no substitute for quality in my mind, and when you can get one of the best, you go after it, plain and simple.
And finally, we have reported that you have given permission for the Montreal Canadiens to talk to Matt Sundin's agent, J.P. Barry. They have had the conversation. How realistic is it that Matt Sundin's negotiating rights would be traded to Montreal?
We have given Montreal the opportunity to deal with Matt up until July 1st, and exclusive rights, and so be it.
All right. Congratulations,
Thank
Luke Schenn,
Thanks for having me.
the newest member of the Toronto Maple Leafs.